In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.
Now streaming.
Hi, I'm Sam Taggart.
Okay. So, hello everyone. It's a bit of a strange day, and more than I have something to specifically tell you, it was just that the title of today's lecture was too interesting to just let it go, and it's this notion of, are we existing to experience existence? You know, alongside this, I was really thinking, like, what do I feel like talking about right now? And this strange idea of how, like, the human mind is an answering machine. I don't know. I don't know why that idea kind of came into my mind, but I was like, it is kind of true. It is an answering machine. From the beginning of its life, it is trying to answer everything. And as someone who's, you know, lived in this world for, over 30 years, I can tell you that something they don't say is how you hold reality changes as much as what changes in the reality that, like, holds you. You open your eyes in a world, you see the same objects and forms as others, but what they mean is very different. This notion of, are we existing to experience existence? Well, it's kind of like we are unconsciously existing or semi-consciously existing and simultaneously semi-experience, like we're semi-existing and semi-experiencing. And the days are just filled with such variables. Like every moment you look at, there is not only known or unknown variables, variables in regards to the distance of forms, even variables in regards to, is something moving or not. There's different schools of thought on this. There are people right now on this planet with 100% confidence. They have 100% confidence in existence, which is either ignorance or mastery. And then there are those who are not confident about existence. This is something that probably should be talked about more, but isn't. That how confident are 8 billion human beings of their existence, and what is the role of the mind in this? The role of the mind is very, it seems important, yet it's also flickering. There's so many different ways. So think of it this way: your brain creates subjective models over the objective models of reality it sees. If you want to know what thinking is, like, to simplify it, like what these poor teachers are trying to explain, it's reality comparison. It's pretty much you receive information, but due to your individualized nature, what you can do with the information is multiple. It's kind of like you receive a wave of information, then you have a wave of choices, then you wonder about, and then there's the third wave of what are the consequences of these choices, and the fourth wave is to actually get on the surfboard and choose one. In my life so far, I want to talk about not external changes, I want to talk about internal changes. And these internal changes are not easy to talk about, but I guess I can find reference points to kind of create a range of wondering about them. Think of it this way: you're objectively existing. Your brain is creating subjective models, and in some sense, it's like you have access to more than one way of existing. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, my physical existence, just sitting in front of the computer, but my subjective or psychological existence to myself, which is another way of saying existence, is kind of like what you find in the moment. Okay, like I'm finding myself physically existing now. But what else do I find in this moment? And it is all the subjective overlay on everything objective. And really, what the story of meaning is, it's like for something to have meaning, it needs to be more than one, and there needs to be movement. It's kind of like, yo, man, what meaning does a statue have? A statue, think of as if something that can't move. Its meaning is just by what it is. But because we humans move, the meaning of what we are is not just limited to what we are. And in some sense, it is a change of being. You pretty much look at the world, and then you wake up the next day, and you're like, yo, is it the same still? It's like, am I still in the same place, same expectations on reality? And human beings are creatures of survival. Do you know what that means? That means expectations met at some point. At some point, there were human beings in the jungles and the forests, and they expected a good day. They expected to wake up, and have nothing bothering them. But instead, they had animals. They were in the food chain, those poor, like, I don't want to say poor, like probably strongest human beings that lived ever, but there was a reason. It's like sometimes we don't, like, they talk about individual gratefulness. They don't talk about the gratefulness of a species. Can you imagine one day where the species, everybody on the planet's like, yo, guys, we gotta be grateful we're not like fighting off saber-toothed tigers right now. We gotta be grateful that, we have air conditioning, that our wind isn't a problem. There was a time where human beings were like, wind? Really? In like something, like they didn't even know what wind was. It was like something pushing them. Like, to me, historians should have like the greatest, like, tolerance for divinity, really, for God and religion. Why? Because it was like, what choice did human beings have? Forces were moving them. You identify as a form, as a shape, as an individual, and then things move you, and that's character development. I'm not like some You know, somebody who's like traveled all around the world to share my tales and adventures. I'm not like Marco Polo, you know, but I'm some dude who's paid attention to things. And it's honestly just commenting on what has changed and what was kept and what it meant based on what was kept and then it changed. There's so many different types of human beings, you know. Let me say it this way. When I was younger, I realized that I was preoccupied by myself. It was as if the experience of reality I was having was way more important than wondering how beyond me this existence is. You know, an argument can be made that if you're like a calm person right now, you know, it's because you don't know enough. That if we truly understood what was here and what the values were, perhaps human beings would behave differently. And what's strange is it's like, at least from a religious perspective, I'm Muslim. From a religious perspective, it is intentionally said, you know, it is intentionally said that this realm, this world we're in, it passes by real quick, and it's delusional enjoyment. And it's being like, yo, man, you know, I'm not in heaven, I'm not in hell, but I'm somewhere where to feel like it's heaven seems to be an error. And the mystery of what's actually going on, you don't understand how difficult this is, guys, that what I'm telling you. It's like accepting everything you know about your life and meaning so far is actually incomplete. What do you do then? What do you do when you realize meaning is incomplete? Do you still make fun of the philosophers? Do you still make fun of the theologians? Do you still make fun of everybody who, you know, pointed to something different than how the general consensus was? The things that internally changed since, I would say, my youth, again, is this whole waking up from a self-simulation of meaning and realizing that I was living life just through self-obsession. It's as if, like, I think most people are still like this. I don't know if I'm completely not like this, but I've reached a point where I am not as amazed by myself as I used to be. I am not as fascinated by my own existence. It's kind of like you're trying to build something, and then at some point you realize you don't have the tools. And then it's as if a part of you sees the possibility of something, but another part of you also sees the impossibility. And you look at the whole system and realize, regardless of your choices, it is so big and massive. It's like being on the shoulder of a giant. Your choices mattered only on the shoulder, nothing more. I find the design of it to be very interesting in the sense that we are not fully in control. Like, people say, yeah, man, I'm conscious right now. You know, we're like, yeah, man, I woke up. But how much did you wake up? It's a weird question, because usually it's like light on, light off. But it's kind of like your own meaning is daydreaming. A majority of people suffering is because they are conditioned in their own daydream. Just because we wake up, it doesn't mean we're not dreaming. And this situation of this creature not being able to control its hands, its legs, but not being able to control like its blood pressure, or so many different functions of the human body, what goes on inside the human body directly, like it becomes obvious after some point. Okay, you have this intelligence here on this intelligent creature, but it's not fully intelligent, it is not fully conscious. Like we don't know, we think that what it means to be a human being is what we find now. No, 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 no. The fact that we are not conscious of the internal functions of the body means we have not seen the most advanced human being. Because an advanced human being right now is being defined based on a conscious agent being responsible for its reality. What's strange is that part of responsibility is becoming. So you become responsible for knowing something, then seeing it a lot, like living it, and then you become it. Okay? And the system's kind of designed where your mind, I think, is living way easier than our body. I think everybody's mind is living easier than their bodies. The mind can visualize parallel probabilities to whatever you're looking at. The mind can have an instantaneous subjective existence. What the mind is the ability of a self to reproject on demand. Like I can't control, the direction that the blood is moving in my body, right? But I can imagine the unimaginable. Like I can imagine supernovas, galaxy. I could imagine the Andromeda Milky Way collision billions of years from now. Do you understand? Like, can you see this? We can't be fully conscious of our internal organ, like body functions, yet we have an ability to imagine the most abstract thing out of nowhere. Okay? Like, are you guys taking that in? We can't do basic stuff, but then we can do this like super fascinating, strange thing of fathoming, imagining, wondering, dreaming. Do you understand it? It's so strange, to the degree that I'm starting to more and more come to this point that reality doesn't exist. And people are gonna be like, yo man, if reality doesn't exist, where the F is everybody? Or what is real? And I'm telling you, this is the strange thing. I don't know if this is part of the divine test. And I am 100% convinced that we're in a simulated testing zone. There's no point of saying it anymore, really. I am 100%, like if we were inside, if they took a species into a facility and ran a project on it, do you know what I mean? This is something very similar, but the force that is running the project is not human. And it's not even extraterrestrial and all that crap. Like, be careful about the mind. Your mind can instantly manifest, armies of hope or demise. Like the mind. What I'm trying to say is that, I thought, this is ridiculous for me to say, but whatever, I'll say. I guess to be humorous. When I was younger, I thought spirituality was like, becoming one with everything and living in pure transcendental harmony as a being. Little did I know that was just an abstraction. We are here to be human. And anything that is not human, there's consequences to it. I am part of that school of thought that I believe anger is not human. anger is not human. I have never felt just like a human when I'm angry. Anger is like the mind treating itself like, even though I'm not saying this to make this like blasphemous or something, it's just a word used in, it's like the mind, the ego is a sort of demigod relationship. But there is, because I'm Muslim, there is no such thing as demigods, but it is, let me say it this way. I want you to imagine you're living like three lives, like a bunch of lives at the same time, okay? One life you can control, but you did not create. One life you created and you can control. Another life you did not create and you cannot control. What does that mean? Your body's life, you didn't create your body, yet you can move it. You have some semi-control there. You have control there. But you don't have control over your existence. It was given to you. But when it comes to asking someone, yo, who are you? This is where they have control of saying anything. And if they choose to become oblivious and believe, they can choose to become that. So this might sound strange, and even though in a simple view, it's all like one event, but it's like there's a bunch of destinies I gotta wonder about. It's not like death is just death. Death is like, okay, so my control over a physical format is not there anymore. Okay, what else am I or was I? And I'm like, okay, I was a mind. What's gonna happen to the idea of me? And are we just the idea of ourselves because there is a body? Or was the body just an add-on? And it's very strange because all the physical calculations can be done while physical. It's like you don't go to the gym to like do your taxes, like a weightlifting gym. You don't go to a weightlifting gym to do your taxes. And another way, like maybe there isn't that much of a need to be spiritual. In this world. You know, there will come a day where we all have to leave. And the system's designed, I don't know if it's designed to make us regret, or it's just the way culture was designed, which was regretful from the beginning. If life was a problem, I don't think I have like an answer. It's like more than it's a problem that has an answer. It's a problem you may realize that the answer created. There's a concept called causal loops in philosophy. And what that means is that it's like someone going back in time before they were born and then altering that situation, looping the causal thing. In the Holy Quran, I don't remember it verbatim, but it says that God doesn't need man. Man needs God. This is said often. That the problem needs the answer more than the answer needs the problem. And strangely, I find this true. People, like when you look at life, you're not just seeing people, you're seeing problem solving everywhere. And you're seeing how people are putting an effort to solve their problems. Some prioritize emotions, others prioritize like information. And a part of it you gotta drive. You know, it's like there's, when it comes to, let's say, public speaking or something like that, they're like, yo man, so many people have anxiety, they don't. But when it comes to driving, nobody has anxiety. When it comes to driving, yielding is not a problem. But in any other domain it is. I want to go back to the point of the answer not needing the problem. See, if the answer created, if the answer created the problem, and they're like, yo, how do I solve this problem? And they're like, the one who created the system can solve it, you know? It's like I'm trying to say ultimately, and this is not easy to say, but at the same time, I am saying this hopefully as some sort of feedback to the archives of knowledge of the species. Like, let there be known there was a human being that saw things this way. We are inside an owned world, and we don't own it. We're inside a commanded world, a designed world. Which is another way of saying that this reality, at least from a theological perspective, is the world of a higher being. You're not in your world. That's the goosebumpy moment. Goosebumpy moment. You realize you're not in your own house. That existence was not your work of art. And you have been brought here. Sure, we say born, but with an awareness this advanced, capable of looking at reality and staring into the known and unknown at the same time. This is something that has been brought here. And more than perhaps our life as a specific story of meaning, it's maybe for application purposes. Because we either have to consider, okay, this is an intelligent system or not. And if it's an intelligent system, it means it's being managed. Now the question of who's managing it, are we all managing it? Some very smart force here wants us to think we are in control. I think that's the point. I think that theologically, when they said there's like the devil or shaitan, and shaitan, it's already lost, but before it loses completely, it wants to prove a point by making mankind lose. What does that mean? That means there is a force anti-human soul. There is a force that wants you to be convinced all of this belongs to you. And that's the thing. That's like the ultimate desire. People think like the ego traps are like, yo, man, all those people praying for abundance, all those people getting what they want. How do you feel about when you get what you want? You don't want to leave that place. All the kids in the Willy Wonka factory were like, yo, man, I want to live here, you know? And so they just tasted the chocolate a little bit, right? Or they tasted whatever candy or whatever it was. Now, instead of a Willy Wonka factory, it's a reality machine. And I shouldn't say reality machine, but it's this place that can convince you of a you that you may not want to be anything else. There was a scene, people may laugh at this, but there was a scene in this Japanese anime show, and I don't remember, I just remember the scene. And there was this like main innocent character, usually all the main characters are like the nicest, most innocent people, right? And so there was this innocent, character, this guy in this like show, and I don't know why this is, but they go, this kid, like, okay, he's like this, he goes into this like red light district of this show. There was like an episode like this, and all these women are coming up to him, and they're like, "Hey, you seem innocent and uncorrupted, And so they're making that character want to desire taking something, okay? And that character is like going crazy, and then he suddenly says, I can't, because if I did like sleep with all these, like it's in the show, Japanese show, I would not know who I am anymore. And there was something so profound about that scene, because it was saying that sometimes when we decide something, we format ourselves in a way where we forget who we were before that decision. And that's where I'm going with this, I guess, where I'm like, yo, it's this existence, we're not 100% in control of it. Do you know, we don't 100% know it. And we can all act to each other, yo, man, I know better than you, shut up. And the other person's like, nah, man, you shut up, I know better than you. It's like, what kind of species game? Like, you don't get it. It was never about knowledge. They said knowledge is power and blinded everybody. Because what kind of knowledge were the power hungry searching for now? When the true knowledge is that you are not the owner. This is very strange. I might be like that person where, like, spiritual people are going to be like, what? This guy is saying that his soul doesn't belong to him? This guy is saying that even though he sees himself as a soul moving in this manifestation, he has somehow realized that nothing in existence belongs to the existing. This doesn't mean about human laws and stuff. I'm not talking about culture. I'm just talking about in an existential way. When you look at this reality and you ask yourself, what do I have? So many people, if you tell someone, yo, man, have you thought about death? Like those monks that did it every day. Do you know what I mean? And the person's like, imagine, and the person's like, it's strange, man. I keep thinking about death, but I ask myself, what dies? What do I have or am I that can even die? What leaves? What was I that left? It's like, what was I even here that, at some point it's gonna leave? What was here that left? Do you know what I mean? And it's more like being like, okay, more than it's a noun, it's an event-like verb with various verbs simultaneously occurring. In the middle of the search of the meaning of your own life, can you ignore the meaning of everything else other than you? A person could be like, yeah, not my problem. I don't care. It's not even possible for me to visualize what 8 billion other minds visualize. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. It doesn't mean there is something. I'm trying to say that it really feels like the greatest war on earth is the war between those who are still trapped in self-simulated earths and those who realize they are in an earth that is simulated beyond themselves. That's where I have come. It's no longer about, yo man, spirituality, yay, I'm gonna live this lifestyle that feels in a certain way. How do you know you're not wrong? Which is one of the hardest moments, because you gotta punch what you see in the mirror. What I mean, like, you gotta break the mirrors that are, it's like what the past is, what the brain is. The brain is like, yo man, you might be scared seeing something, keep seeing the same past thing. It's like the brain is like feeding us, like, how do I say it? It's like feeding, the brain is like strangely like a shepherd, not a shepherd, but like somebody just like feeding, constantly past familiar comfort back, looping and looping and looping. And at some point you're like, yo man, who could I be? I've been living in all these patterns so far. And that's where it starts getting interesting, because sometimes when you look at the sky, you don't just see the edge of everything. Sometimes when you look at the sky, you realize whatever is happening here is bigger than you. There's something happening here way more important than one person's ideas. That means it's like in my opinion, the human odyssey, the human game is not about becoming the most advanced human. It's reaching that very advanced state of being like, could the most advanced be beyond human? We are right now in the nostalgia of fax machines. Do you know? Who was that guy? There was some guy who, the hilarious, like, I don't know, TikTok video or whatever it was, some sort of online video. And there's this kid who's like, yo, man, imagine there was a phone for houses. And then there's this dude watching this, like this older dude, and he's like, oh my God, like some dude born in the 90s, right? And he's watching this and he's like, oh my God, that's a landline. How old am I? Like the dude's freaking out that people have forgot what a landline is. What I'm saying is, on some level, I do see like we have to keep that, hurtless or that painless illusion of like, of the attainable happiness on earth. But it seems that happiness is a management of all the sectors of one's awareness. Do you know that this is a moment right now that its value is based on speed. That means if they sped up reality, like this would be a nanosecond in history. But if they slowed down history, you know what I mean? It's like everything could be here. It's all, to be honest, this whole thing of everything and nothing, I want to kind of like be like, yo, relax, organism. You have a you have a limited range of receiving reality. Now, if somebody says, all right, man, so you're saying this world is owned. You're saying there's a system admin to this existential simulation, which I am. Okay? And I'll be like, yo, man, I realize spirituality is just all, sorry, it's all just fun and games until you begin to realize what you're in the presence of. Pretty much imagine like spiritual people being like a bunch of people employees in a boardroom. Okay, do you understand? Imagine like there's employees in a boardroom just goofing around, and then when the boss comes in, everybody changes their composure. This is the difference between spiritual and religious people. Spiritual people, they haven't met, or I shouldn't say they haven't, but they haven't noticed the presence of the system admin here. Do you know what that means? That means I am not just talking to you, dear listener. I am talking in the presence of what I would consider the divine administration of this realm. And people can go on being like, yo, is there aliens? Is there truth? Is there God? Is there this? I'll be like, guys, like you're still in the existential man-child phase. What that means is that you still think it's easy. All I'm saying is like, it's like I entered a different room. And I understand now the luxuries I had of being a soul, again, oblivious or ignorant of the system admin. Now the system admin is present, but the system admin is not an individual. Now, if you say, can the system admin move individuals in any way it likes? However, that's the point. In any game, we have to have, I don't know if this is courage, but to me, this is like a type of courage. To be like, okay, who controls what? I'm creation, I control my created self, like I'm barely getting by, you know? And then there is that which controls every moment. There's, I think, one difference between Islam and other religions. Islam, its text is like teaching how to praise a God that has no partner, no equivalent. That means that the system admin is not a conditional being. It's like you need to establish a relationship with the unconditional. Everybody does in some sense, you know. It's like when the boss comes in the room, nobody's goofing around. Do you know? When the boss comes in the boardroom, everybody's like acting their best. That's the difference between religious and spiritual people. Religious people realize the boss isn't in the room. Spiritual people, they think the room, of course, belongs and was created by the boss, but they don't know if they are the boss or not. These are mountains I find I have climbed in this life. One mountain was the mountain of my self-simulated world. You know, like this is something they didn't tell me. I was a very playful, kind of like carefree person. But little did they say that if you're too playful with reality, you might suddenly see like the depths of what you don't take seriously. There's spectrums. If I take something seriously, it starts coloring everything in my moment. For a long time, I was thinking, what is love? Is love just zooming into something? And then everything becomes defined by through that lens? And again, it's not like I'm like here being like, yo guys, there's an answer here. You know, we all have to be this answer. I'm like, no, I'm not taking that approach. I'm being like, guys, we're in a world room, okay? World room, okay? We've entered a room that is the size of a world. Now, as some intelligence that's opened its eyes somewhere, it has to look at the contents of the room. It has to be like, okay, where am I? And then it starts its like, you know, I guess analysis. So a part of you is like, okay, where are you right now? And I'm like, okay, I'm on Earth. And a part of me is like, okay, where is Earth now? It's okay, it's in the galaxy, you know, Milky Way galaxy. I'm like, okay, where's the Milky Way galaxy? Okay, it's in the center of, you know, the universe. Gal Peters style, you know. At some point, I discover I have become satisfied by stories on the macro depths of reality. And I find it so strange that, you know, the rules have changed. Like when Galileo was like alive, you know, the religious court was like, bro, what we see is it. It's just like this world and it's flat, you know, and the dude's like, no, man, I've seen stuff around. I've seen the moons of Mars or Jupiter or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And they were like, nah, man, you crazy, you know. And I'm saying the church was like, we gotta see it to believe it. And then they realized one of the biggest discoveries in science was that seeing is not complete enough. That there are events going on beyond the human perception, that there is intelligent activations in this world room beyond us, that how things are happening surpass the information we have. It's pretty much like you think, I don't know, at some point you just be like, yo man, was I coded? Am I a programmed entity right now? Am I programmed to treat myself, you know, as if my objective existence is the only thing, but anytime I communicate to people, I'm some subjective self? For how long do I go on acting as if this subjective self is me? And this objective self is just me. Like, do you understand? It's like this is what's like. This is the expression I find. It doesn't mean it is the ultimate expression. I think the biggest question that beings have is like, what am I? Not just what am I doing here? It's like, why am I being here? Why am I being a part of this existence, this type of earth, this level of human advancement, this level of human ignorance, this level of viciousness, this level of gentleness, you know? Because in my inner realms, behind my eyes, in my inner life, I find myself, like my inclinations, pulling me to a completely different being than I am now. It's like behind my eyes, I'm more of a being that identifies as a process. It's like we've been conditioned as nouns, but we're actually verbs. And it's like, yo, man, what do you tell a verb? It's like, how many nouns is that verb gonna eat until it realizes it's just a verb? That means, what is movement? Movement is the meaning. So, are we existing to experience existence? The answer, let me say it this way, the answer that's a bit slightly difficult to come to terms with, but I think it's inevitable, is that once you step out of your self-simulated world, that means you get bored of how life means to you, and you wonder how meaning moves beyond you, how truth stands or witnesses beyond you. God is the system admin. I do believe there's a system admin here. I do believe that human beings are destined for greater ability to communicate. We have not just been evolutionarily designed to communicate with each other. We have been designed to pay attention to changing environments, and that includes a lot. It's like the moment you can notice change, you can be something because you've noticed the options, you've noticed the contrast. And there's so many layers to the human being that whether I like it or not, when I begin speaking, you don't understand. That's like I selected one version of myself out of all the different ways that the moment could have moved. After all this life, what I see is how I've moved. And how you move is very interesting because it depends on the context of things, and it depends on how you value things. To me, it's like more than there's good and bad beings. That's more like a consequence. But there's just beings who are choosing. It's like forms choosing formations to then, you know, change different forms. It's like we're formed and then we become informed and then we reform. And then I start my rap career. I don't know what else can happen. If I ever became a rapper, it'd all be like, it's like, yo, man, his raps are nice, but they're all about, the existential anguish and mystery of manifestation. Let me tell you, let me just zoom in on a part of this, some of the topics I brought up. I said something to you earlier about like you're living three lives and how one of these is the soul's life. It's another way of saying you can value things objectively, You have objective values, you have subjective values, and this is something that I don't think maybe no one on earth has conceptualized, but there's witnessing values. Like there is a value to the object right now I'm seeing in front of me, like this coffee cup. There's a value to that. Then there's a value to the meaning, the subjective meaning of like, okay, this is a coffee cup and this is where I am and the story. So there's an objective value, the actual coffee cup. Then the subjective value. And beyond the subjective value, by being something is there. It's strange. It's like I never need to take my own attendance. You know? It seems I have been attending every decision of my life, you know, little did I know. You know, I have been seeing it before doing or being anything. And the truth of it is, the knowledge we were raised in were the lies the world had to tell us so we didn't freak out. That's the value of the educational system. The educational system has been designed to protect you from the depth of yourself. You know, even if there's like evil people, like mind controlling people, I'll be like, man, like the beings in this realm don't realize the depth of, like, meaning is a state of mind. Meaning is a range of mind. Beyond a certain range, it's like, what meaning? What self-owning? What? Like everybody is in their own individual search of meaning. And that's how you know we're not advanced. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how you know we're not advanced, because we still are looking for it to make sense to one of us. I think the human species is waiting for supervision. And the options are, we are led by humans, or we all walk towards the original, I can say the original Earth. It's like in the middle of me being like, yo guys, let's build an advanced civilization. I was like, yo, we gotta first find the original. Even if you go try building an advanced civilization, it kind of brings you back to, it brings you back to needing to remember your origins. It's very strange. It's like close to, like the way I see it and the way it makes me feel. It is it's like reaching the state of mind where being like, okay, so all my thoughts have been limited to me. I've been through this sort of egocentric, self-centered, you know, loop of manifestation. When I stop identifying with that self, I find myself being a moment that's simply being. And as I just watch the moment from that simple just being here as a being, you know, I come to realize that it's like you begin to notice how your subjective, your inner realms actually have a feeling for your body with your outer realms. I'm saying you pretty much realize the world is giving you the form, so you're giving this your meaning, When you wonder about what it means beyond your meaning, you stop giving your own meaning to things and you come into this kind of neutral moment. And from that neutral moment, you're not supposed to get some revelation or answer. You're just supposed to feel that room. Feel the eeriness of not knowing. And then you realize ignorance and knowledge was a luxury. These teachers, like, to me, you don't understand. Teachers are also another way of saying it is that they are such aware souls that they've realized what lies beyond knowledge. Again, an unknown state where the final decision of what happens is not limited to humans. This ad started right after I said, okay. Ever since realizing the system admin, I have not been able to be myself. Ever since realizing the limits what I am, I cannot stay in an empty room. I cannot even stay in the ideas of emptiness too long. Because I cannot forget that regardless of how I've painted the picture, or others paint the picture, or I see the story, others see the story, it was a performance of a lifetime. Even though a majority of that performance in front of myself. But to realize, to be, it's, I don't know if, like, for me, it's a source of happiness that I am at least getting to see it. It's like, I don't know, like, just like anybody else, whether we fail or succeed. But I can enjoy the atmosphere of standing on this giant boat that we're all sailing. I have gone the path of self-meaning. Like, I've looked around it. If I was like some sort of surveillance, like technology or something, I have looked at it. I have seen it. There's moments before I sleep, I even change size. Like, I don't know how to say this to people. It's a feeling, it's all subjective. It's not, I'm just physically just lying down in my bed waiting to fall asleep, and then I just feel like I'm standing on my finger, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to say it, like I said, like it's just a different scale, and there's times where I felt very vast, but the pattern, like, I think every soul has its own unique pattern, and its pattern is based on how the system admin commanded it here. And what I have noticed of my own pattern of, like, the deeper movements of my own psyche, it's complete servanthood. That means not in this, what, let me tell you what I mean by that. I mean, in the search for who I am as a soul, I was expecting a noun, but I discovered it's a verb response to an original signal. You're gonna see, guys, the way the world is going forth, anything spoken now will be purer than what may come. Do you know what that means? That means there's less interference and change done to it. Life can be very simple. You can live it very simply. Never wonder about how complex it can be. Feel that distance between what you can be and what you are now, and wondering how will the world move before I even decide. Once you notice the self-simulation, you're going to experience a loneliness, a solitude. Right now, reality is colored in our meaning. It's okay. But the depth of it renders everyone on Earth as an explorer. It's like, who are we kidding? Are we all acting like we know all the forces that are moving reality? Subjectively, it's way easier to get deceived than objectively. Because subjectively you can move yourself. Right now, you may think that you're listening and I'm the one speaking. But when it comes to what's happening in the inner realms behind our eyes, it's really the same. Everybody think of it as a basket of everything they've considered to be a thing. And whenever they hear words, it's like from that basket jumps out the whatever's in there. For me, I think the reason I'm even like here giving these talks is because I have this OCD, but it was an existential OCD. It was like one of the earliest battles against my honesty. Am I language or am I not? When somebody says, my first name is Amin, so when somebody says, who's Amin, right? And it's as if like when I say I am, that like to me there was a sort of, I don't know how to say, dishonesty of the simple, innocent ways the world was held and how it moved differently. And really, in regards to luck or being lucky, unlucky, all of that changes when you're in an administered system. The world has to decide, are we going to seek perfection? Are we going to sacrifice natural imperfection for digital perfection? Or even, could unknown variables appear? What are miracles? They're the entrance of another angle that things could have happened you had no idea they could. In the trenches of some existential battle between what is reality? Is it an object? Is it a subject? Is it something you see? Is it something you do? Is it something you be in the sense of everything? Are you even conscious of your whole moment to consider it your whole moment? You become, one of the signs, I think, of someone who's found some sort of interactivity in by realizing they're conscious in the attention of the system admin. You can't touch the unknown. In my earlier talks, I was just innocently stumbling through, just running. Do you know, when I would give talks? But the older I'm getting, I'm being like, there were ears in the room of that belonged to minds that I could not fathom. As someone talking about advancement, like every day for years, what I came to realize is more advanced than any external thing that can happen. It was like I was pushed from being like, okay, solve the human game, and I felt like I kind of solved it a little, you know? I was like, advanced civilization, and then now I'm realizing, okay, there's something deeper than external advancement. It's the advancement of what is honestly here, and to honorably advance it. That means I don't know if this is a healthy way of having an ego about this or not, but I think of it like, okay, if I have to play a game, I have to master this game. Because why is the option there? Why is the possibility there? Why does the mind see a future? So externally, advanced civilization, like I went to the end of, like, the human formula or equation there, and I was like, okay. Advanced civilization fighting off epistemic entropy. But the deeper game, more important than advanced civilization, is that, the most advanced original power to all reality is here. That means you thought you have to go find God. You thought you had to go shake God's hand. Little did you realize, all forms were players. All forms are controlled beyond us. It is not our game. It is not just the human species is playing here. Think of it, the human species and everything the human species is conscious of is like a football, like a soccer court. What is really beyond it? This is what happens when you're not convinced by yourself that you're a self. Because your honesty does not allow you to ignore everything else and everyone else. Like, to me, it's fascinating that an advanced human being would be a human being that is waking up and thinking like, okay, I'm responsible for 8 billion human beings. And even though I'm not, but if I was, what kind of human would I be? Do you see how much more advanced this is than the average mindset? Now, I want you to think of it this way. Now, the other evolution of this for me was, in some sense, that, okay, so I need to Instead of going and finding truth, truth has always been here and is closer to me than my jugular vein. It's another way of saying that you have to realize how you were simulated. Truth doesn't have to show you its truth. You held the world, it told you a story, and you held it differently, it told you another. But finally, you realize that if existence was commanded, it was commanded beyond form. And all knowledge is in an effort to make form have parallel meaning, just meaning in another reality. They're like, tell me, man, what do you know? Tell me your knowledge. It's like, knowledge of what? We're all existing here. Things change at different speeds. What we call our human life is just like a state of an organism, of a process, and just a certain range of awareness to it. The depths of what we are not aware of, that means subconsciously, I think there's a battle that happens. Imagine two people have never met, they suddenly meet. Their subconscious, before any of them says a single thing, the brain is going in like, I'm going to compartmentalize what I am and what others are. You know, in this show called Alice in Borderland, I don't know what episode it was, but there's this dude that's like about to like lose a game. And I don't know, he looks at his girlfriend, or I don't know what it is. He looks at this girl and he says, find happiness. I love you. And then he like loses the game in the show. And yes, everybody should find happiness. But not at the cost of truth. That means that how do you know something is not real happiness? It doesn't block your access to the truth. There is a strange story. I don't know why I feel like sharing this, but I'm going to share it. It's a story from an Islamic context. It's a story from a long ago. It's not a religious story. It's just a story of something that happened. And there was this religious guy back in the day. They had caravans going through the desert, and I don't know, these like equivalent to pirates or bandits come and they're stealing like this caravans, whatever this caravan has, right? And there's a thief, one of the bandits there, right, that he goes to this like devout religious guy, and the guy's like, here man, I got food and stuff, and it's like, don't hurt me, take this. Okay, now maybe I shouldn't say, like, there's a specific way you should hear this story. But anyways, long story short, okay, there's this guy, religious guy, says, hey man, why aren't you taking my food? And the thief says, I'm fasting. And this guy's like, yo, what the hell? Excuse me, this guy says, like, this guy's sinning. He's doing something very wrong, but then he's fasting. And I don't remember how the story goes, or if the guy sees him years later in like Mecca or somewhere, right? But the idea, I think he does years later, and the whole point of the story, I think something the guy, the bandit says, he's like, even though I am like, I have failed in many sins, and those are wrong and should be corrected, even or if I have the strength to do so, I should, right? But he's like, it was as if like he was keeping a part of himself. He was not trying to lose all of himself to the nature of the action. He was trying to keep a part of himself as if like, yo man, I did something wrong, but I'm still a good person, like that intensity, right? And the whole point of this is that the forgiveness of it is dependent on the system admin, and our lives have a value to the system admin that we cannot know. People are like, why does the good guy win? Why does the bad guy win? Different narratives, right? Different shows I've even seen based on these ideas. Why does the good guy win? Why does the bad guy win? It's like, yo, human reasoning, relax. There is a higher value system beyond what we have access to that is signifying and deciding how moments actually happen here. And the way this reality happens here, it's not special just because of the human being. It's happening as if like we're still experiencing the hood of the car, and what's underneath is deeper levels of how intelligence is being through in the presence of the ultimate intelligence. Because an empty room never made sense. Emptiness could not create the idea of a room. Existence is designed not to make sense. That's a clue that your self-simulation cannot override what our reality actually is. If all attempts from beginning of one's life was to step at fight, rebel against, the world they didn't want to be in, and only to realize the world they were in was not the actual world. We're slowly, as a species, reaching the area of suddenly becoming very aware that we simulate our attention. So anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Are we existing to experience existence? Yes, but why? Why are we all existing here? And why are we all just convinced by our own value on things? And what if we decided not to label ourselves? What is the true ability of ability anywhere at all? To me, I was like, okay, what's the, smartest thing I can do here on this planet to just become aware whose planet is it? To become aware who owns the moment, to become aware when I say I have a soul, who is owning a soul. Is the soul owning language and words and projections, or are the projections acting like they have a soul? And what is the depth of what we are truly in the presence of? Have we not realized it's been, I think maybe like 50 years, we've already, like the seeds of the simulation era have been planted. People think right now, people, when you tell them about therapy, they're like, yeah, okay, bro, yeah. But the hilarious thing is, there will be a need for a therapy in the future that we can't even fathom now. That the more scared a species is, the less awareness it has to its reality to decide. It's like one of the downsides of fear is like you have access to less information. Anyways, thank you for listening. And once you notice the system admin, reality is very different. It means that you can learn from that which, it's like you find a force, you find the moment that is superior to you. It is the origin of all moments beyond the definition of moments. That means the species is matured beyond games of form. It's like don't stand in front of me and tell me truth is get out of here. Like, anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Whoever on this wondrous earth is listening. We are explorers beyond the worlds we've explored so far. Never forget that. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Bismillah.